Story. Found out my wife cheated with our best friend, pretended to consider forgiving her, then erased the novel. She spent years creating. The scene opens with a quiet evening in a suburban home. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the living room. Tom, a 35-year-old tech consultant, sits on the couch with a glass of wine in his hand, staring at the TV but not really watching it. His mind is elsewhere, on his wife, Rachel. Tom had always prided himself on being a patient man, the kind of person who avoided conflict and let things slide. His marriage with Rachel, his high school sweetheart, had been built on trust and mutual understanding. They had been together for over a decade, and in that time, they had grown into the perfect couple. At least, that's what everyone else saw. Rachel, in her early 30s, was a brilliant novelist. Her books, full of romance and intrigue, had started to gain a following, but her true passion lay in creating worlds with her words. The couple's life seemed picture perfect. They had a lovely home, great careers, and shared the same circle of friends. But beneath the surface, something was slowly unraveling. Tom always thought they were happy, but recently, Rachel had seemed distant. Her late nights at the office turned into early mornings spent glued to her laptop. Whenever he asked if everything was okay, Rachel would brush it off with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. And then there was Ethan, their best friend, Tom's college roommate. Ethan had been a part of their lives for years, and Tom trusted him like a brother. But something felt off about Ethan's behavior lately. One fateful evening, Tom arrived home early from a business trip. The house was unusually quiet, with no sign of Rachel. He found her laptop open on the kitchen table, a half-empty cup of tea beside it. Curiosity gnawed at him. As he reached for the laptop, he saw a file titled, "For Tom and Ethan." His heart sank. Tom's gut told him to leave it alone, but something inside him urged him to open the file. And when he did, his world came crashing down. The file was a draft of Rachel's latest novel, a story that, on the surface, seemed like another tale of romance. But as Tom scrolled through the pages, his eyes froze on a scene so vividly written, so intimate, that it felt all too real. The characters in the novel were based on him and Ethan, but this wasn't just a story, it was their affair. Rachel had been writing about the affair she had with Ethan, the betrayal that Tom hadn't even known about until now. Narrator, with a voice filled with disbelief. Rachel had poured her heart into every word, every detail. She had turned her infidelity into fiction, hiding it in plain sight, crafting their betrayal into a narrative she could control. Ethan was the man who had stolen the part of her that Tom thought belonged only to him. Tom sat there, stunned, staring at the screen. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, but he didn't know what to do. Rage mixed with sadness, and for a moment, he felt like he might collapse from the weight of it all. Rachel came home a short time later, her face lighting up when she saw Tom sitting at the kitchen table. She had no idea what he had discovered. Rachel, cheerfully, "Hey babe, how was the trip? I missed you." Tom's eyes were cold as he looked at her. He didn't say anything for a long moment, letting the silence grow between them. Finally, his voice broke the stillness. Tom, calmly, "I read your novel, Rachel. The one you've been working on for months. I didn't know Ethan was such a big part of the story. But I guess I should have known." Rachel froze, her smile faltering as she realized what Tom was referring to. Her eyes darted toward the laptop, and her face paled. Rachel, nervously, "Tom, I can explain. It's not what you think. The novel is just fiction. Ethan and we didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness." Tom stood up slowly, his hands trembling, but his voice was eerily calm. Tom, with a cold smile, "Fiction? You wrote about us, Rachel. You wrote about everything, the way you two were together, how it felt to be in love with someone else. And you think that's just fiction? Rachel's face crumbled as the weight of the situation hit her. She tried to approach him, but he stepped back. Rachel, pleading. Please, Tom, I'm so sorry. I was lost. I didn't know how to fix things between us, and Ethan was there for me when I felt like you weren't. It was a huge mistake, but I promise, it's over. Please, we can work through this. Tom's expression softened for a moment, the glimmer of hope that she might actually change flickering in his heart. He'd been with Rachel for over a decade, and the thought of ending it all was unbearable. But deep down, he knew he couldn't trust her anymore. Tom, softly. You want me to forgive? The next morning, Tom woke up early. Rachel was still asleep, her breathing shallow and soft. He watched her for a long time, the woman he had loved for so long, and the woman who had shattered everything with one selfish act. Slowly, he reached for her laptop, opened it, and deleted the novel she had spent years writing, the story that was so personal, so full of guilt, regret, and hidden truths, was gone in an instant. Narrator, with a slow, deliberate tone. Tom didn't just erase the story, he erased the lie, the fantasy that Rachel had woven around her betrayal. Every word, every moment, every lie she had fed him, gone. It was his way of taking back control, of destroying the illusion she had built around herself. The novel was her confession, her version of the truth, and now it was gone forever. As Tom sat there, staring at the blank screen where the novel used to be, a sense of calm washed over him. He had done what needed to be done. He wasn't going to forgive Rachel. He couldn't. And he wasn't going to let her keep the past locked away in the pages of her book. Rachel woke up a short time later, and when she saw the laptop screen, she froze. She rushed to the table, her heart pounding in her chest. Rachel, shocked and devastated. No, you didn't. Tom said nothing. He watched as her face crumpled, her fingers trembling as she tried to open the file, only to be met with a blank screen. She couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Tom, coldly. I've made my decision, Rachel. This is over. There's nothing left to fix. Rachel opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. She could only stare at the blank screen, the story she had worked on for so long, her confession, her excuse, gone forever. Tom packed his things that afternoon. The silence in the house was deafening. As he left, he glanced back one last time, not at Rachel, but at the home they had built together, the life he was leaving behind. And as he closed the door behind him, he felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. Rachel tried to reach out to him over the next few weeks, sending texts, leaving voicemails, but Tom never responded. She had taken everything for granted, assuming that her words, her actions could be forgiven. But Tom had learned something important. Forgiveness couldn't erase the past, and sometimes the only way forward was to let go completely. Narrator with a sense of closure. Tom never got the answers he wanted, but in erasing Rachel's novel, he had erased the last of the lies. In doing so, he freed himself from a past that was no longer his to carry. And though the pain would linger, he knew that it was time to move on. The final scene shows Tom a few months later in a new apartment, starting fresh. He smiles as he walks past a new desk with a fresh notebook. It's his turn to write his own story now. Narrator, with a calm, reflective tone. Sometimes the only way to truly heal is to stop holding on to the past, to let go of what no longer serves you. Tom's journey wasn't easy, but it was his own, and in the end, he learned that the power to change your life always rests in your hands. Thanks for watching this emotional journey. If you've ever experienced betrayal or found yourself in a similar situation, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of love, heartbreak, and healing.